Okay, so you're kind of combining day 1 weaving with day 2 apple drawing, and I will show you an example of that. Basically, I'm drawing the apple and then I'm giving it contour lines. Think of it like a globe. So I'm going to just kind of show you how I would do that from the beginning. And then I would also encourage you to add a little bit of depth by having the back part of that apple. And then also I would have you put that stem in there. Okay. So there's my apple. Again, have those erasers ready. And then I'm doing contour lines. So we're kind of almost mapping this out as if it was a 3-dimensional object. What would it look like in space? So I'm going with these lines, so like this line right here, similar to that, but flattening it out a little bit, similar to that, but flattening it out a little bit more. Okay, now it's going to end up kind of going a little bit more straight on me. Then I'm turning here and I'm just kind of going around the shape of that apple. Okay, now I'm not going to talk about this area quite yet. What I want to talk about now is the horizontal lines. Okay, so here I'm matching up with the bottom line, just kind of flattening it out a little bit more, because when I get to the middle, the idea is it's kind of close to straight. And then as I'm going up, I'm kind of matching what I'm seeing here. So I have to eventually get to a point where I'm matching that top line, which is close to that. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. None of this has to be perfect. Just going to kind of clean up those edges a little bit. It does help if you draw kind of light. I mean, you don't want to make it too light so that you can't see it, but you do want to be able to erase some of those lines, because as you know, when you're doing the weaving part of it, you will need to erase those lines. So now I'm just going to go in and make those contour lines from what will be here, and then around here. Okay, so after this part, eventually what you're going to do with it is, hopefully you can see that, an example like this. We're actually making the apple look like it's a weaving. And so if you can kind of imagine what I did with this was I started by just figuring out, okay, this part here, these parts are the negative space where there is nothing, and that might be the first step in kind of helping you get through this. And then some of those lines I just kind of played with and had more like, so it almost looks like a mummy, an apple mummy. It just has these little strips that come out towards the edges, and then I kind of did kind of a funky thing there. It's not entirely done. You guys get this far, then you're super awesome. So how would that look like, going from here? Well, every other one is going to be that negative space, and you're going to have to decide what is the under and what is the over. Which one of these is like a ribbon? Which line is the actual ribbon and one is the negative space? So once you decide that, life is a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm just going to say that this right here is a ribbon. This is not. So this is an X. Okay. So this is a ribbon. And then when I've made that decision this way too, this is a ribbon. This is not. So that way I know every other one, is going to be the X. Hopefully that makes sense. And don't get too carried away with that until you're very positive of what is happening. So if this is a ribbon, it is going to go over this ribbon. Okay. So this ribbon is going to go over this one. That means I erase this line. And it is going to go, it's going over. This is negative space. This is negative space. Sometimes it helps to just do that little bit of shading just to make sure that you're understanding it. All right, so we're going over this one, okay? That means we're going to go under this one, which means this line is going to be here. I'm going to do a little bit of shading there. Again. Over, under, over. Erase. And to not confuse me, because I am kind of getting confused, let's take those out of there for a second. Okay, so I know that this one is negative space, negative space. This is going over this one. This is negative space. This is negative space. This does take quite a bit of focus, so if you guys are getting confused about it, you can always snap a picture. Mrs. Fortin can help you out. Like, oh, I'm so confused. And sometimes it just helps to take a break and walk away from it, or just to stop staring so closely at it. Sometimes when we're down here, we get very confused about the big picture, and when we take our eyes off of it for a minute, it seems to make more sense. So hopefully that is starting to make sense for you. Where we would go from here, again, this is negative space, so I know that this is negative space, this is negative space, this is negative space, okay? And then I would just keep going, under, over, under, over. Let me know if you have any questions about this. Otherwise, I'll see you guys. Thanks for joining me.